Doctors in demand today. I'm so excited to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is medicinal plants and getting them in your diet. We all think, we have to take these pills and these tinctures and drink tea all the time. But I was out in my garden yesterday working on some of the herbs for the season and getting excited. And it occurred to me that I always tell my patients at this time of year that even if you don't have a garden, to get, just a few pots out on a sunny deck or in a windowsill, even just a few pots, and you can get some plant starts. I was at Trader Joe's because sometimes I go there to get some things, and they had organic herbs out. And so really any of these grocery stores, you can grab a few herbs. So I wanted to give you some strategies to get some of these herbs into your foods, because medicinal herbs in your diets can actually really help with anti-aging and increase antioxidants overall. And they're so delicious and so easy to incorporate into your life. So I have definitely had patients over the years that I have this discussion with and just give them a few little tips and things to do. And then they come back and they're like, wow, it made such a difference that I had the basil at home or I had the rosemary at home. And then I would take little sprigs of it and little pieces of it and put it on my salads. And it just made a world of difference. And it's so uplifting. And thank you for that suggestion. So I wanted to kind of share it with all of you because it's so much fun and so easy to do. So first of all, let's go through some of the reasons why we're doing this. So we know that from research that we're supposed to have 30 plants in a week. So this is the research on anti-aging, gut health, just general advice. We all know we're supposed to be eating a Mediterranean-like diet. Everyone sort of has that idea, but then people say, well, how many vegetables am I supposed to eat a day? How many fruits? But it's beyond the fruits and vegetables. It's really, the data is now that we try and get people to eat 30 plants a week. So once I started digging into the 30 plants a week, I was thinking, could I do my herbs that I dump all over everything? I'm big into herbs all over everything at my house. We like things flavorful. Bland is not the name of the game with our cooking. And so once I realized that the researchers were counting herbs, it just opened up a whole other world of, wow, eating more herbs. We can count that as one of our 30 plant foods. The other thing that's in that 30 list, coffee does come from a plant and it does have polyphenols, which are some of these phytochemicals or some of the plant chemicals that we know are really good for us and protective for our cardiovascular systems, our brains, etc. And so even coffee counts. Coffee is not necessarily the best choice, right? But as far as Americans go and looking at the amount of those chemicals people get in, coffee is actually one of the biggest sources, of course, for Americans because we drink a lot of coffee and we have that in our diets on a regular. But if we get medicinal herbs growing at our house and we just, cut a few pieces and toss it on our salads or on our soups or on anything we make, we really get a lot more of those chemicals in our lives. So the easiest plants to grow are these mint family plants. I'm telling you, they're very hard to kill. So if you're watching this, I'm not a gardener, I don't think I'm going to get into this. It's so easy to have a pot of basil or to put a lavender plant outside or oregano. So those are all plants from the mint family. We eat a ton of mint family plants. And looking through it, it's really neat to see that when they looked at older folks who eat a lot of mint family plants in their diets, just, constantly in their foods, they found that their memories were better, they were happier, and that their sleep quality was better. So this is real data comes out and we have to open our eyes and say, wow, this is something maybe we should think about doing. And so at my house, definitely in one of those 30 plants, my children, basil is one of the most common things that they have in their diets. We buy the packs of organic basil all winter. And then when we can grow it, we just have it all the time. It's it has to be every other day that basil is being eaten in some way at my house. And so those plants are so easy to grow from seed, or you can get the plant starts. You'll notice that on a basil plant, the stem is square, and that's one of the very typical things for a mint family plant. And I'm really promoting these mints because they're aromatic, they smell good, they have a lot of flavor, and so you'll like to have them to put into your food. So this mint family has a lot of good chemicals for us. They're circulatory stimulants. They just do a lot. So it's good to have a few of these plants around. But I think you'll be impressed by how many of these things you actually know. Sweet marjoram, oregano, lavender, rosemary, mints, every kind of mint. So spearmint, lemon balm, all those plants are mint family plants. So it's beyond, oh, I'll have a mint tea after dinner. It's sort of like, what else can I do with this plant? So if you have it at home, you can pick mint sprigs and make a water infusion. So this is a cold infusion, so easy to make. You don't actually have to boil the water or make tea. The mint family plants have tons of essential oils. That's what makes them aromatic and so awesome. Like you can rub them with your hands and then smell it. It smells so good. So one thing to do is get a big mason jar and put it, some filtered water in it, and then pick and rinse off your mint family plants. So it could be lemon balm, or it could be spearmint, peppermint, whatever it is. It could be rosemary. It can be thyme, oregano, any of that. Put it in the water in the jar, leave it overnight. And it doesn't even need to be refrigerated if you're just leaving it out for, 8 hours or so. And then the next morning, you will take out the herb material, and then the water that's left, you can drink. So some people do this in the sun too. So they might just sort of like leave their jar out in the sun for a few hours. I do tend to actually put it in the refrigerator overnight because it still extracts it, and then it's nice and cold, and that's kind of good on a summer day. I really enjoy that. But you don't leave the herb in it for 8 hours as the tops, because you don't want it to start growing things. So that's kind of the rule on a cold infusion, but they are amazing. You will look at it and say, it doesn't look like it made a tea here because it's not dark. It doesn't get out those kind of tannin-like constituents that are more bitter, like a hot tea or a hot infusion would. It takes out all the essential oils and all the like bright and happy chemicals from the plant, actually. And so you'll take the, lid off the jar, and it smells really good. And you're like, wow, it looks totally clear. Like it's just like water. But when you drink it, it's incredible. So definitely trying that is a good piece of advice. Another one is to put some of these herbs into your foods. So you absolutely can chop up all these plants even together, and you can eat the flowers, you can eat the stems, you can eat the leaves on these plants. Usually you kind of pick the tops off, and it makes more of the stems come out and makes it like a bushier plant as it grows. And so you just pop off the tops of the plants, and then you can chop them finely, and you can put them in little containers and freeze them that way. So that's incredible, because then you can have it all the time, and you just put it after you roast your vegetables, you throw them on top of it. You put it on every salad you eat. You're making a wrap, you're making a sandwich. Ooh, I'll sprinkle some of my herbs in here. Once I figured out that I could freeze these herbs, it made a really big difference in my life, because drying them, they're just not as flavorful to me. They're just not as, bright. And I don't, the dried ones aren't as good as far as I'm concerned. Of course, we have all the dried herbs in jars, but the fresh ones just add a little oomph. Like they're just really nice to have around. So you can chop up all these herbs and just add them on things. So doing that, you increase your antioxidant status so much. So if you're having any kind of soup and you put, a teaspoon of this on top of it, it's delicious. First of all, it smells really good, and you get all those extra chemicals in your body. So just constantly thinking about how can I add more of these herbs into my life is a really big deal. Now, those mint family plants have a lot of effect on mood. So we all know lavender is super calming, right? We know that idea. But you can do things if you're growing the lavender plant, and they flower all summer where I live. And they make the garden actually smell really good, because it just sort of, the heat kind of pulls off that odor. It's really nice to walk by them. But you can grow them in plants. They do like a more sandy soil. So where I live, I have a lot of clay. So if I plant one outside, I actually put sand in it so it has better drainage. But otherwise, these plants are very easy to grow, really. So just start experimenting with them. But you can take those lavender tops and you can put them in, a little bit of any kind of it could be a sock. Okay. So say you just want to put it in a sock inside your pillow. And then when you go to bed, you can smell it. That's really nice. You can make that infusion where it's even the cold infusion. You can put it a little bit in your tea. You can chop it up and put it on salads. Lavender tends to have a very strong flavor, but it goes really well with lemon. So if you do like a lemon salad dressing and then put a little lavender on top, people do like that. But it's known for anxiety. It really calms everything down. So lavender is a really good one in that regard. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the mints, where lemon balm in particular, that looks just like a peppermint plant. They all sort of look the same, but it smells more lemony. That has been really linked to being an antidepressant. So that one's really uplifting. So the mints are nice to put sort of in your walkway before you go to your car or whatever. I'm not sure if you walk outside to go to the car, but it's really nice because you can just kind of like rub your hand on it and then smell it, and it's uplifting. And mints are good in a lot of places where we don't think to use them culinary wise. So mint, it feels like, oh, it's kind of candy and it's more on the sweet end, but actually mint's delicious with your vegetables, and it blends well with the basil. So I always like to chop up the mint and the basil together, and I'll put it in a zucchini stir fry or anything really. That is a good combo. So in introducing more mint into your culinary thoughts is a really good thing to experiment with. It actually even goes well with lentils. You know, after you cook the lentils and before you eat them, you can put mint on them, and it adds this whole other layer of flavor. So playing more with eating these herbs is the whole point of what I'm talking about. Because they really do belong in our foods. They're commonly used as culinary spices always, thousands of years. Rosemary's been one for thousands of years used as a plant of remembrance. And now we know why, because it helps, it's a circulatory stimulant to your brain. And those antioxidants that are essential oils in there actually help protect your brain chemicals. So it's sort of an anti-dementia or memory protecting plan to have a lot of rosemary around. And rosemary, of course, goes with a lot of foods that people have rosemary potatoes and things like that. But it's interesting if you just chop it up finely and throw it into a lot of things, how it goes with a lot of different foods. So I'm thinking, if you go to a farm or even your regular grocery store, where outside they often have these organic little plant starts, and grab a few of them and start just putting them in pots. And if you're putting them in pots, you want to do either a clay pot or something natural, and not one that has a glaze on it. Some of these ones that we get that are glazed and they're really pretty looking are better for our flowers. We've actually seen patients where the metals from those glazes get into the foods that they grow from the pot. So I always say, the old tried and true as far as the terracotta pot is the best way to grow these herbs, these edibles. So at my house, I have all the colored pots have flowers in them, and then the terracotta pots just have the actual things we eat. So that's just one little subtlety to keep in mind. But they're so easy to grow. They're really forgiving. They just like a lot of sun. So right now is the time of year to go get some of these plants into your lives. And it really makes getting to 30 plant foods a week very easy if you have all these herbs that you're putting all over everything. And if you want to learn more about growing some of the plants or some of the recipes, just write into us and we'll get you more information on that. Bye, everybody. Grow some plants. Enjoy your spring.